I'm going to export a Smart Notebook file into Google Slides via Microsoft PowerPoint. So I've got my Smart Notebook file here. It's got 14 pages, and on the pages we've got a mixture of interactive activities, and we've also got some of the Smart Notebook activity resources, and we've also got a YouTube video link, and we've also got images. So on the image here, we can see if I just right click and go to unmask, that the image has been cropped to that size. None of the pages have been extended, and if I go to view and change the zoom to the entire page, we can see that the aspect ratio of the pages is 4:3, which is a standard smartboard size. But actually, when we put them into PowerPoint and into slides, there'll be a widescreen size, which is 16:9 aspect ratio. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this file as a PowerPoint. So I'm going to go to File, Export As, and select PowerPoint, and then save it. I've now opened up that Smart Notebook file in PowerPoint, and you can see that there are some changes. So we've still got the 14 pages. The image on the first page has been changed. We've lost all of the interactive features, so the video that was on page 2, and as we scroll down, the 2 Smart Notebook interactivities on pages 11 and 12 have also gone. The rest of the pages are pretty much as they were in Smart Notebook, so all of the images have stayed the same. They're all individual, we can move them around, and we've got that interactivity as well in the design. So there's some things we might need to tweak in PowerPoint before we move it into slides, just because PowerPoint we've got a few more options. So if I wanted to change the picture, I could either just click on it and I could just stretch it out and crop it. We can see that it's been distorted. If I go to right click and go to size and position, we can see that the height is 70% of the original, while the width is only 34%. So if I change that to 70%, we can see this is the original. And then what I could do here is I could just go and I could just crop it back to similar to what it was before. So we click on the crop there, and then that looks a little bit better. The YouTube video that was on page 2, well, we can insert that when we're into Google Slides. Unfortunately, we're going to lose the interactive smart activities that were on pages 11 and 12. So we could either redesign those pages, or we could just delete those slides. The other thing that you'll notice as well is that the aspect ratio is 4:3. So again, if we want this to be previewed on if we're expecting this to be viewed on a widescreen, then we can change the design size. So if I go into design, we can change the slide size to widescreen if we wanted to. So we can click on there. You can see here that when it resizes, we can either it's either going to crop the edges off, which we don't really want to lose anything on the slide. So what we're going to do is just make sure that the entire slides fit within the new 16:9 ratio. So now we've got the slides in widescreen. And the other thing that I know you mentioned was that the fonts might have changed. So we can see here that on each of these slides in the header here, we've got, if I go back to the home, we've got the header text here is making 10 is Arial size 36. So if I wanted to change any of the fonts, what I could do, the easiest way of doing that is from the home page. I'm just going to select that font, so Arial 36. Over on the right side of the ribbon, I'm going to click on the little drop down, and I'm going to select Replace Fonts. So it should have the font that you've selected, in this case Arial 36 here, and then choose which font you want to replace it with. So if I want to replace it with Comic Sans, say, and I'm going to go to C, and I'm just going to go down, scroll down till I get to Comic Sans. So it replaces all of the fonts all of the text in Arial 36 with Comic Sans, and if I press replace there and then close, then that's taken effect on every page. And then if you've got more font sizes, then you would just repeat that process. So the counter 10 is a slightly smaller, this is Arial 22. So in the same way, I can just select part of that, go to replace fonts, and change that. Again, type in C and then scroll down. If I wanted to use Comic Sans again, select Comic Sans and then replace, and then it will replace every Comic Sans, every Arial font of that size with Comic Sans again. So you would just go through and you just replace all your fonts in the same way. When you've edited those pages and you've got them looking as best you can, as what you like, then it's just a matter of then saving the PowerPoint again and then uploading it into your Google Drive. I've opened up my Google web browser and logged into Drive, and then I went into New and File Upload, and I uploaded the PowerPoint into Google Drive. So here it is. I'm just going to double tap that and that will open up in Google Slides. So you can see that it's preserved all of the settings from PowerPoint. It should look exactly the same. All of the objects will remain, and all the images will remain individuals. They can all be moved around and edited. It's maintained the aspect ratio of 16:9. If I wanted to change that back to the original Smart Notebook settings of 4:3, I could go back into File and Page Setup and change it from widescreen back to 4:3 if I wish to. I'll just change that back again. While we're in Slides, we can change the background. So we could change the background color, or we could apply a background theme to the presentation. And we can make those changes. The other thing that we need to do is add the video onto slide 2. So what I've done is I've found the video on YouTube. So I've gone up to the address bar there and I've just copied the URL. I'm going to go back to my Google slide now, and then I'm going to go to Insert, Video. I could have browse for the video in YouTube, but because I've got the URL, I'm just going to click on that second tab there and right mouse click and paste. So there's the video that was in my Smart Notebook, and I'm just going to press select there to add that onto my page 2, and then I can just reposition that where I want it. So now I've got my Google Slides, which is okay. We've lost some of the functionality and some of the features that were in Smart Notebook, but otherwise we've got a presentation that I can now share with my students. Just before I do that, I will change the background because it's at the moment it's plain white. So I'm going to go into background. I'm going to go to color, maybe choose a gradient here, choose a color that I like. You can see that it's applied it to the slide that I'm on. If I want to apply it to all the slides in the presentation, I can just add that to my theme, and you can see now that all of the slides within the presentation have got that background color. And then the last thing I want to do is to share it. So I'm going to go over to share. I want to share it with everybody I know, so I'm going to change it to anyone who has the link, and they'll be able to view it. So I'm just going to copy the link there. I'll just open that up in a new tab and paste that in. And I'm just going to change the end of the URL there. So when it starts writing edit, I'm going to change that to present. So my students will be able to see this in full screen without the slide list. So then if I copy that URL, I can then add that to my Google Classroom resource or as a link there, and then my students will be able to view the presentation that started off in Smart Notebook. And you can see here that the YouTube video will play, and I can just go on to the next slides and everything else will look the same.